Huge thanks to OK Jazzy. They're your go-to for the 2026 World Cup and an incredible retro archive. They got decades of iconic league classics, from legendary 90s designs to the rarest club heritage kits. Whether it's a high-performance player version or a timeless vintage look, prices start at just £15, 4.5 Trustpilot rating and fast shipping. Use code Chris for 8% off and grab your piece of football history now.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and another edition of the Spurs Chat Podcast. We're live on YouTube, X and Facebook, so please do get involved and let us know how you're feeling as a Spurs fan right now. Dear, oh dear, we're discussing, I'm sorry to say, another defeat at Stamford Bridge for Spurs. Chelsea 2, Tottenham Hotspur 1. Oh, this was really, I honestly thought we might get something tonight, but it just wasn't to be, was it? It just wasn't to be. Let's have a look at the match facts and stats. Chelsea with just over 44% of the possession to Spurs, near 56. 0.63 XG for Chelsea, 1.72 for Tottenham, 9 shots for Chelsea, 9 for Spurs. 4 on target for the home side, 3 for Spurs. Total touches inside the opposition box, Chelsea 11, Tottenham 23. Goalkeeper saves 2 for Chelsea and 2 for Kinski. Aerial duels 1, 10 for Chelsea, 9 for Spurs. Fouls committed 11 by Chelsea, 18 by Tottenham, and 3 corners for Chelsea and 4 for Tottenham. And yeah, it's not great, is it? It's really not great. That Stamford Bridge place, honestly, it's I'm kind of lost for words again, because I really thought we were going to get something out of this game, as I say, but it wasn't to be. Let's just have a quick look at the league table. I'm sure you're all aware Spurs still on 38 points going into the final game of the season, 2 above relegation rivals West Ham on 36. But we've got the superior goal difference. So essentially, we just need a point against Everton on Sunday, you would think, to maintain our Premier League status. As usual, I've got 3 very special guests back with me. I've got Terry, Luke and John. Terry, how are you?
Just a bit deflated, really. Yeah, I think it's the hope that kills you with Tottenham. I think we all went in clear-eyed on kind of what we thought the result was going to be, and it really wasn't a surprise. But I mean, it was a game of momentum shifts, and we did have our chances. I think the 2 goals that we gave up were mistakes on both of them, and it felt like we were going to nick something at the end. So just to not have that, and to go into this last week with just this trepidation, this fear, this sinking feeling in your stomach, it's tough. I mean, we'll get into it. It's my first time on with John and Luke. I've seen both of you on the show. It's a pleasure to meet both of you. Looking forward to that second game. Craig, thank you for hosting.
Thanks, Terry. John, welcome back. How are you?
Same, really echo what Terry said there, to be honest with you. But look, needing to go to Stamford Bridge to get something, did we really think we were going to do that? I mean, historically, it would say that we wouldn't be able to, we couldn't do that. And surprise, surprise, yes, we started quite well, but overall, we seem to always do it. We seem to always give ourselves a mountain to climb when we go to places like that. So frustrated, angry, not surprised, to be honest. We thought it would go to the last day, and here we are.
Absolutely. And Luke, welcome back. How are you doing?
Cheers, Greg. Yeah, hi, good to see you guys. I do feel like really I was sort of expecting this. So I feel like I primed myself for this a little bit. So I don't feel that my disappointment fell as far as it could have, because like you guys have already said, Stamford Bridge, it's not a happy hunting ground for us. And I don't even think that we faced a team that played brilliantly today. Ironically, one of the things that always separates the two sides is that we look a little bit naive, and they don't. They seem to manage games better, and that's what we got today. So I spoke to Chris on the fan show a few weeks ago, and we did our predictions of where we were going to go. We said it was going to come down to the last day. So, it's never easy with Tottenham, is it? It's never easy.
It really isn't, is it? And especially this season, it seems like the longest season ever. And just thought we could all breathe after tonight, but it wasn't to be. Probably we should have looked at the stats, like you say, from the previous 40 meetings of Chelsea, Tottenham. Kind of a bit of a giveaway. Terry, I know you've given us your thoughts on the game a little bit there, so I'll just come round to all three of you. What did you make of the game as a whole, Terry?
Yeah, I thought it was a strange game overall. I mean, there were long periods where there was just a lot of just low energy. A lot of times, you could clearly hear the Spurs fans as well. And then there'd be periods where one team would have a lot of pressure and a lot of momentum, and that seemed to shift back and forth. I mean, the first 15 minutes, I thought we looked really, really strong. The crisp passing, just really forward looking. I had my notes here, like just that. You could tell they had practiced. That's something that we would always say under Frank. Is you kind of wondered, what do they work on during the week? And they looked really well together. They had a great chance from Tell that where he really should have scored in that 11th minute. And then I felt like that Enzo goal really came against the run of play, and then we completely lost momentum. Then in the second half, I thought we started out much stronger. And then it kind of switched again against the run of play. I think it was a mistake by Colomani, who pretty much passed it right to Palmer for that second goal. I thought the game was over then, to be honest. So when we nicked that one back, that brought some hope. But with Tottenham, it's always like that. Like they'll just give you just a tiny nugget of hope, something to hold on to, and they just kind of disappoint right at the end there. So. Just a strange game, just some times of low energy, then really high energy near the end of regulation time. It started to get really, really feisty between the players. I'm surprised we didn't see more cards or even a red card at that point. I think we had a lot of chances in extra time, and it's that lack of end quality, that end product for us. If we end up going down, or even if we understand like that, just that lack of quality from Colomani, so from Tell, you see it at times. From Richie, you see it at times. But there's just so many times where they'll just kick the ball, they'll try to cross and just kick it out of bounds and just completely take the pressure off of Chelsea. So that's been the story of our entire season thus far. So just scared going into Sunday, really.
Yeah. John, what's your feelings on the game? Because Terry made a few very good points there. It's a tough one to take, isn't it, again at Stamford Bridge?
Yeah, I mean, we did start well. We did start quite well. We hit the post, didn't we? But we seem to have this knack of we're very good at playing it sideways and backwards, keeping it safe, neat and tidy, all very good. Those wide players, I mean, Colomani and Tell really needed to stretch and get in behind the fullbacks. We don't have any attacking combinations at all, and that's been the story of the season. Everything is off the cuff, so it suits Chelsea because we'll get the ball in their half, if you like. They'll have their back four, and they're just like, "Well, come break us down." Then there's no movement. Richarlison will come short, we'll go long. Richarlison will go long, we'll come short. It just doesn't work. There's no combinations in there at all. And we're hanging our hats on Matthias Tell at the moment as our most effective attacking player, and realistically, he's a bench player, isn't he? He's not really a starter, and we're hanging our hat on him to try and keep us up. And then, of course, we do make mistakes. We've never been able to play out from the back. Even when we were good, we couldn't really play out from the back. But we still persist on doing that, and I don't know why. We cause our own problems. And Kolo Muane, as I said, put a terrific through ball through for their second goal, didn't he? So it's a shame because we wanted to make the 3 changes before that goal, and for whatever reason we didn't do it. We waited, and they get the second goal, and then we do it. We wanted to do it beforehand. I don't know why that happened, but we just don't have any. We don't have any attacking combinations. We look better. We look more organised under De Zerbi, to be fair, and he can only work with what he's got. But at the same time, there is just no movement from the front players, and you've got no confidence in them getting you a goal either.
No, and I think what you said there about the substitutes. Do you feel it was too late? Do you think De Zerbi made those subs too late, John?
Yeah.
Because that was the
Yeah, I
feeling
think
on
so.
social
We've
media.
got to sometimes realise where we're at, right? We're coming at half-time 1-0 down, 45 minutes to go. Okay, yes, we know we've got Everton on Sunday, but this is a real opportunity against a poor Chelsea team in a ground that we are dreadful at. But it's there for you. The crowd was flat. They weren't even chanting, "You're going down" or anything. There was just nothing. It was just completely flat. And he kind of seized upon that. If it had been roles reversed, if it had been Chelsea in our situation coming to us, they would have gone after us. They would have gone to hurt us, but we didn't. We didn't have, I don't know, the mentality to do it. Whatever. We were just, and then only at 2-0, then we start playing again, don't we? Because the pressure's off slightly. Oh, we're going to lose this anyway. We might as well. We rally, and then we get a goal back, and you're thinking, oh, you never know. But then again, the choices, the decisions, final third, dreadful. Of course, the two chances that Tell had to put the ball in a box, and they weren't difficult. They weren't difficult crosses, But again, step up.
Yep. Luke, what's your feelings on the game? And I agree what John said there about Callum Moani. He's just not cut the mustard, has he?
Yeah, and it's funny because De Zerbi's said so much about him in the last few weeks and about putting his arm around him and trying to make him a better player. And I think he seems to be either that he's failing in that, or he's just found there isn't one under there. And we all know that the things he said in the press conferences, because you can't basically do what Tudor did and come in and say, well, some of these players are a lot worse than I thought they were. You can't do that. You need to pick them up. So he's done the right thing in that sense, but I think he's discovered that player isn't under there. I think he can't deal with the pressure of the Premier League. A nice little flick round the corner might work in France, but in the Premier League, that fullback is going to stay on your skin the whole time. And Cucurella didn't give him a break there. So he really, really struggled today. And then he was sort of too casual at times with his passing, and that's why that pass back, very lazy pass back, he doesn't seem to me to be focused enough at any moment in the game. Even when he's attacking, he's staring at the ball and he's not looking up to see who's around him. So I think he, as an experiment, has failed, and I'd be interested to see if De Zerbi sticks with him for Everton, to be honest, because although Tell, I thought, was made some poor choices, he was certainly more focused at the end. And as John said, we shouldn't really be relying on what is he, 19-year-old to try and, create things off the right wing. It's a bit of a shame, really. But, I think to be positive, I think De Zerbi has taken this team that I really thought, I said to Chris a while back, I was at the Palace game and I had nobody sitting around me, and I thought, this is the lowest I've seen Spurs in my life. And to take it from that to this is better. And De Zerbi is working with what he's got. He can't, I was looking at the bench and thinking, what can he really bring on? Obviously, Madders is, I'm glad he's back, but he just can't do 90 minutes. And I agree with you. I think those substitutions should have been 10 minutes earlier. And had they come 10 minutes earlier, that game likely would have ended up square. So maybe a mistake, but I think that he's getting the best out of what he can with these players. And the first 15 minutes, as Terry said before, we actually, the balls that we were playing in behind, and even the ones that were failing, you could see what they were trying to do. And you were thinking, this is working. Okay, they're actually giving this a go. We went through, I think, 2/3 of the season where we'd only played like 4 through balls. So to see that happen 3 or 4 times in the first 10 minutes, even if it fails, you think one of them is going to land eventually. But the problem is I thought from the first whistle today, they didn't look as intense as they did at Villa Park. And you can say what you want about that Villa team, but they were at that Villa team. They were in their socks. Do you know what I mean? They were so close to them. Whereas today, they looked a little bit nervous about the fact they were playing Chelsea, and the press was maybe 10% less every time. They were just slightly too late to the ball all the time. And that affected us because as the game grew on, those early chances settled into their positioning. They were going man to man. And all of a sudden, every time Spurs got the ball, they found, we've got no room to move. But if we lose it, they're moving it about quickly. And Enzo and Palmer had a very good game today, has to be said. But look, a little bit of positivity about that result. And this is a real slither of silver lining. That result means that Chelsea pushed Everton out of being able to get a European spot. So it's possible that ninth, I think, could be the final European spot, and Everton are 3 points off ninth and have a worse goal difference. So for us on the last game of the season, it means Everton have a lot less to fight for. But, you know, Leeds did have nothing to fight for the other day, and look at the way they played.
Yeah. Is that right, Luke? There's no possible permutation for Everton to get into Europe?
I think it has to be like a 6 or 7 goal swing for them if they win. So I think Brentford would have to lose maybe like 4-0 and Everton would have to win 3-0. And Everton are away against, Brentford are away against Liverpool, and Liverpool are now secure in the Champions League spot. So I think it means that Everton are very, very unlikely to be able to get that place, because there's also 3 teams above them who could also pick up points and take that last spot. So they're not the ones that in prime position, even if they do win. So I think for them, it's, you know, the only factor that there is that might give them motivation is Moyes' link with West Ham. But, you know, as he was saying in a press conference recently, he seemed a bit bitter when he was talking about West Ham. So,
well, yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it's a club that sacked him twice, isn't it? So you know, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't think that would, well, you know, perhaps if he was a player, but he's a manager, he's not going to be saying, oh, you know, I want to beat Spurs and send them down because of what happened at West Ham. So anybody that thinks that is wrong, in my opinion. But that the ultimately, whoever we're playing on the last day, we would have to go and just get a point again. And I think it would be dangerous trying to sit back and get a point against Everton. But I'd much rather be playing Everton at home than somebody like Liverpool, for example. So you know, definitely easier games. But as we found out this season, there's no easy games in the Premier League. Terry, I know we'll come on to the match incidents, but and I haven't actually got a picture of it, but there's a picture on X, and it's of that corner in the last few minutes for Tottenham where Van der Ven was wrestled to the ground, and they were saying, VAR was saying that the ball wasn't in play. Well, you can clearly see from that image that the ball was in play, and the wrestling was still going on. It obviously started before the ball was kicked, but it was definitely, you can definitely see that the wrestling was still going on. Are you surprised that VAR didn't give us a penalty for that?
I'm not surprised, just because it's us, and the calls always seem to go against us. If it had gone the opposite way, I'm sure that the VAR would have checked. I'm not positive that the ball was in play. We didn't get to see a good angle. I don't know. At least in the American broadcast, we didn't get a good. The only angle they showed was behind. Was way behind. It was hard to tell if the ball was already in the air when they tackled it. When Cucurella tackled Van der Ven, and that was just an outright. I mean, that was an American football tackle. There, you kept seeing Maddison kind of pleading with the ref like this. I think he was asking just for the ref to go to the monitor just to check, take a look. I'm surprised they didn't at least do that. But I don't know. I asked you guys. I don't know if you guys saw a better angle. If you could definitively say whether or not the ball was in the air when Van der Ven went down or not. It was hard to see from what we were seeing.
Yeah. I think there's definitely an argument to say it was, but you know, I think everyone needs to make their own minds up about that. But yeah, it's Everton, as you say, on Sunday, which we'll come into at the end of the show. Everton haven't won in the Premier League since March, and Leeds haven't lost in the Premier League since March. So, you know, straws to clutch there for everyone. Let's come on to the starting 11. Come around to you, John, for the starting 11. Obviously unchanged: Kinski, Danzo, Paolini, Richarlison, Tell, Udogie, Gallagher, Porro, Bentancur, Van der Ven, Koulibaly. Any surprises there for you, or did it make sense to you that he went with an unchanged team again?
Pretty much so, I think, given what we've got available and everything else. If we're going to keep to that structure, then I don't see anyone else that can play, sadly, out on that right, unless you're playing somebody out of position. We tried that Porro Spence anomaly in one game, didn't we, this season? I think Tudor tried it and it was a car crash. So I don't think we're going to go with that again. But I wasn't really surprised by that starting 11. And he has got us a bit tighter defensively as well, I think, from off the top of my head since De Zerbi's been there. So no, I wasn't surprised by that. I was pleased he stuck with Kinski in goal, although the first goal I think he could have actually saved that. But that said, good handling, distribution was okay. Yeah.
Were you surprised that Bergvall didn't come on, John, or even he hasn't really had much of a look in, has he?
No. I mean, yeah, he could have done, I suppose. I think when we have that midfield three, Gallagher, Bentancur, I thought Palhinha was poor today, and normally I think he's been all right recently. Bentancur keeps us ticking over, neat and tidy, but it's sideways and backwards. And then is that a fault because we don't have those, like I said, the attacking combinations, so we can find those forward passes? But I think he's got the quality to do that, maybe, but we don't see it. I think, if that starting 11 was fine, and we should have made the changes. Made just changes sooner. May have done it at half time potentially. I don't know, but we haven't got it. I mean, looking at it, there's no real attacking threat, is there? I mean, Maddison's your creative player, but apart from that, it's all kind of sort of huff and puff, isn't it, on that bench?
Yeah, I mean, on the bench you got Vicario, Dragusin, Bissouma, Maddison, Gray, Bergvall, Spence.
What I would say though is the last sort of 5-10 minutes, why haven't we thrown the Danso or Van der Ven up front and just caused problems and gone long? I never understood that. We kept playing it around the back and all. Just bang it long, get the ball in the box, and you never know what's going to happen. It'll break. You just don't know. But we don't put ourselves in that situation to try it. So again, I would just overrule the manager. If it was Van der Ven, I'm going up front. And just stay there and just keep hitting him. I don't know, but yeah. That's the best. That's the best of what we got, really. So I wasn't surprised by that starting 11.
Luke, any comments on the starting 11, or any players you would have liked to have seen come in for anybody, or do you think that was the right decision to go with that starting 11?
I think his hands are tied. I mean, he's definitely gone with the approach of try and get a settled team for a period of time, which I think is a sensible approach. But he's tried to put as much experience on the pitch as possible, I think. But the clear problem was, after Chelsea score, is that when you've got Gallagher, Bentancur and Palhinha, and to be honest, all three of them have played more forward passes since De Zerbi's come in. So he's obviously pushing them to do that. But none of them have the quality of pass in them to try and unlock a defence. So when you go 1-0 down, it's not an intentionally defensive team, but it suddenly starts looking that way, and that's really problematic because who is picking the lock there? Who's making a difference? It's not Richarlison. For most of the game, Richarlison wasn't actually, his movement, he was running through the middle, it wasn't too bad. But I think from what we've seen from him in recent weeks, he can't really take a touch. He can't control the ball. He doesn't really make. So many times where he was in the box trying to make short passes and he didn't even make the short passes. So, De Zerbi's hands are tied with his starting 11. The only thing I think he could do is try and do something maybe a bit wild and play someone else through the middle. And, against Leeds the other night, Richarlison was running up the wing in front of where I was sitting, and I just thought his legs have gone. So putting somebody with legs in there, even if they're not a striker, arguably could be more effective. But like Bergvall, for example, I thought Bergvall running through the middle, holding the ball up, might be more dangerous than anything Richarlison could offer. But I think De Zerbi's going for experience, but unfortunately, it's sort of round pegs and square holes a little bit. But I definitely think he's getting more out of them than Frank did when he was playing a very similar sort of 11 earlier in the season. Yeah,
and that's just it, isn't it? Like, we all moaned about the Bentancur-Palhinha partnership, didn't we? Especially against Brentford away. That was I think a lot of fans said they didn't want to see that again, and it's kind of worked under De Zerbi, hasn't it? But as you say, it's being set up slightly different. Formation, not formation as such, but passages of plays is different. Terry, any comments on the starting 11 before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, John and Luke really touched on it. I mean, if you looking at this graphic here, you just realize how shorthanded De Zerbi's playing with. I mean, he expected to inherit a team that had Romero to help bring the ball up, Xavi as number 10, Solanke to be the point man up top, and he lost all three of them pretty much immediately here. So having to play into kind of work with this team that he has here with a front three of Colomwani, Richarlison, and Intel, I think he's just done an incredible job. The fact that he's even gotten us here to the point where we're still in control going into Sunday with that lineup, I just can't say enough about De Zerbi, and kind of clearly he's had to completely change his game plan and his tactics to suit this team here. I don't think he had visions of his midfield being Gallagher, Bentancur, and Paulinho going forward. I'll agree with John that I don't think this was Paulinho's best game. I mean, he's my favorite player on this squad, but I think it was especially poor game from him and from Udogie as well. Still a little baffled that we haven't seen Gray at all under De Zerbi. It's surely he would bring some kind of spark at least later in the game as well, like him or Bergvall. But it just concerns me because I don't see any alternatives to Colomwani. Luke, you mentioned that as well. Like, is there anyone else that we could put on the right side going into Sunday? If you look at that, the only thing that I could think of is if he could run the full 90, but he can't. Would have been Madison just as a outside shot, but clearly he's not in full game shape yet. So I just can't see anybody else fitting into that front three.
Yeah, you can tell with Maddison that he's still protecting that knee. He's still nervous of that knee. He's not going. I mean, not that he slings himself into loads of tackles anyway, but even when he cut the ball back for, I think it was Spence, he was so tentative, which I totally understand because that knee hasn't been tested fully, and it's not. He's not going to trust it fully. But you can't. You're right. I think it's funny actually. I don't know. No, we'll come on to match incidents, but I had this vision that Maddison banged in a free kick from exactly the place he had that free kick right at the death there. And I thought, oh my God, am I a clairvoyant or something? But of course it went over the bar, so it didn't really matter. Right, let's get into the match incidents anyway. 11 minutes, great cross from Porro. Tell hits the post from a header. Really thought that was going to go in, that one. 14 minutes, Palmer shoots and saved by Kinski. Then on 18 minutes, there was a goal from Chelsea, Enzo Fernandez. John, coming round to you, talk us through this goal. What was this all about? Whose fault was this, or was it just a culmination of errors?
Yeah, I mean, Enzo Fernandez gets the ball up, was at 35 yards from goal. We're close enough that we're not close enough to him. We're not close enough getting out to him. But the goalkeeper's flat-footed. I don't know if it's ready or what, to his unsighted, but I expect the goalkeeper in the Premier League to be, preparing for, players can shoot from anywhere. So be prepared for something like that. So whilst, yes, it's a good strike, he should save that, in my opinion. And it's not right in the corner either. So he should save that.
I think he's got so much space when you're looking at this image. Apologies for listeners on audio.
I don't get with our midfield players when we haven't got the ball while we're not tight. We haven't been like that all season. We're just not tight. It's probably the Villa game where we're kind of all man for man and we just shut the spaces. Apart from that, why would you not? When we haven't got the ball, right, there's their three, there's our three. Just stick with them. Just basics. But look at that. Look how much space he's got there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. And do you know an interesting stat? Spurs have conceded the most goals from outside the box, in 13. So that Thomas Frank saying let teams shoot from outside the box. It's a bit of a fallacy, isn't it? Luke, what do you make of this this goal? Do you agree that Kinski should have done better there?
No, I don't. I don't blame Kinski for that because there's an angle where you watch the ball and it moves like one of those Jablani balls from the 2010 World Cup. You remember, like it gets in the air, takes a bit of spin, and then it just goes dead and moves left right before he gets a chance to move. I think he actually plants his feet because he thinks it's coming straight at him. And then it starts to move, it starts to swerve, and his feet are planted and he can't get a good dive on it. So I don't blame him. I always think someone should close down someone from that kind of distance. And John said it, we just don't seem to set ourselves properly. And that's where you need leaders on the pitch who are screaming at people to be in the right place. And I don't think we have that. I think we've got a lot of,
we're too nice. I think we're too nice. It's too nice to, we don't, you need to get into these players. You need to be.
It's either they're too nice or they're just completely losing their heads, like Van der Ven was. Like tonight, he's maybe too young to have it all dropped on him, but he just looked like he was red around the eyes. He just looked so stressed, and we needed a bit of composure. We needed calmness. We needed someone to be speaking to people around them, and there was just a lot of shouting and bickering. And it's not as bad as it has been. It got to some worse points earlier in the season, but. Yeah, we've seen those goals happen because we do not set ourselves properly as a midfield when we're defending, and we just let people get in those positions. And we saw Rodgers score, and so many players do it this season, as you mentioned. So I don't know why that's successive managers. We just seem to have the same issue there. But it hasn't happened for a little while, so I did forget about that as a problem. We haven't seen one of those for a few weeks, have we? But it's a nonsense, really. But you should never be having someone with that much time, because he gets time to stop the ball, look up, and then shoot. It's not like it's a snapshot either. So it's extremely poor, I think, defensively.
Teams will know that as well, right? Based on the amount of goals we conceded from there. If we hadn't conceded as many goals from the outside the box, he ain't shooting from there, regardless of the space. Right? They're looking to get closer to the goal. But why not?
Yeah.
Why not, have a pot shot, see what happens.
It's interesting what you said, John, about the discipline sort of factor. It might surprise you, because it surprised me, that Spurs have received the most yellow cards in the Premier League this season, and Chelsea were second. And of course, Van der Ven and Porro got booked in that first half as well. So, but I think it's silly fouls, and I think we gave away a lot of stupid, unnecessary fouls today, not necessarily resulting in yellow cards. But there was one in the second half I could think of that the Chelsea defender was going absolutely nowhere, who doggy fouls him. And that happened time and time again. And Sarr gave away one in the second half, stupid one. So I think, you're all for taking a tactical yellow card, but do it in the right spots and do it for the right reason. I don't think we've been particularly good at that this season.
Another problem we've got is we just don't have. This is quite insulting to say, but there's not a lot of intelligence, like football intelligence, across the team, like nous. Do you know what I mean? Like when that ball was played over behind Porro and Cucurella's got it, he knows all day long that Porro's come steaming in on him. So he just takes a little touch that means it goes past Porro and Porro clatters him. But Porro didn't need to do that. He was getting there. He just needed to get to him as he takes the touch, stay on the right side of him. And to be honest, if he makes very little contact, Cucurella would probably dive and then we'd get the free kick. But he doesn't. He comes steaming into it and he gets booked. They get a free kick in a dangerous position. It's nonsense. And, these guys train on the training pitch all week. Maybe they don't put each other under enough pressure on the training pitch, because when that pressure then they are faced with it in a match, in a Premier League game, they don't seem to be able to cope with it. And yet they have all week, they have 8 days like they did today to prepare for a game like this, where Chelsea were clearly going to try and wind them up. They were going to go down easy. I mean, you saw the one with Gallagher where he barely touched Caicedo, and Caicedo went down like he'd been shot in the face. So, and the ref bought it. It's like, stop doing that. Surely someone should have said that to them beforehand. But this has been successive Spurs teams for a long time, to be honest. I don't think we seem to recruit players who have nous. And I wonder if that's because when anyone figures out that a player's got a good brain on them, football-wise, they're more expensive. And we've never gone for those kind of players. And the ones we did have were called Kane and Son. We don't have those anymore.
Yeah, well, Roberto De Zerbi just had his press conference. He said Sunday is the final for Tottenham, not Bilbao against Manchester United. The most important game is Sunday. Now we play for something more than a trophy. This is for the pride of the club and history. A trophy, you can win and get one trophy more, but this is more important. This is about dignity. To go on holiday with your head up is not like this and looked down. God, my heart can't take it. I don't know about anybody else. My heart, Sunday is going to be horrendous, isn't it? Absolutely horrendous. We'll come on to it. 28th minute, Kalamawani, another misplaced cross. Terry, I know we've mentioned and touched on Kalamawani, but he's just not good enough, is he?
It's funny. You said 28th minute. I looked at my notes. I just said all I had was Kolomwani so bad. So it just the way that he relieves pressure on the opponents, like he'll drive down, then he'll just ping across into the stands, and he looks so casual doing that as well. Like it just there's no threat whatsoever. I mean, he really is just a negative influence on this team. I cannot wait. We were saying this backstage. I cannot wait, whether we're in the championship, whether we're in the Premier League, to not talk about Colin Wani and what he hasn't done in our games going forward next season.
Can I ask you a question, Terry? Yeah. Do you reckon he just doesn't care?
Why would he? Why?
Yeah.
I mean, well, you can't say. I feel like we saw in the game a couple weeks ago where he did put in a shift and he was applying the fans and he was high-fiving the fans. I felt like I felt like there was something there. But then today he's just reverting back to the old Kolomani. I mean, that back pass to Cole Palmer was just an absolute killer. It felt like we were getting back into that game. And it felt like we had a chance. The momentum was on our side, and it was just such a momentum killer right at the wrong moment too. And just that's the thing. I mean, we seem to just shoot ourselves in the foot at the most inopportune times here. I mean, we were talking about that Kinski missed save. Like, I do think there is some fault to that. What's a shame to me was just 4 minutes before then, Kinski showed really great footwork to save that shot on Cole Palmer. I think that was a better save than at least the announcers gave him credit for. There was some movement on that Palmer ball as well. So to follow that up just 4 minutes later with that screamer from so far out, it's such a shame. So Kolomani, like I just want to stop. I just don't want to hear or talk about him anymore.
I think that it's a big decision for De Zerbi on Sunday, actually. But what he does, because he could see with his own eyes, surely, as much as he bigs up Kalamawani, there's a player in there that he's just not giving him enough. I mean, John, what does he do? Do you think he's going to stick with Kalamawani, or do you think he's going to try Spence on the wing, for example?
No, I think he'll stick with him. He's not a right winger by definition anyway, but the kid doesn't want to play for us. He doesn't want to be with us. Even when I think we first went in for him, he didn't come, did he? And then he went to Juventus or something, and then we come back in again, and he's reluctantly joined. But it couldn't be any more obvious. He doesn't chase down. He doesn't shut down. He doesn't chase loose balls. He doesn't make anything happen. The only time we saw a bit of a spark was PSG away. I would have no confidence in sticking him through the middle and Richarlison out wide. I just don't. It epitomises where we are. I think he will start. Would I start him? No, but I think he will start him then. And we'll see. But he doesn't want to be there, and that's the biggest thing for me. And his attitude is diabolical. Yeah. He's been left out of the French squad now, which is understandable, because I think he thought in his own mind he was going to be in it. But I've had nothing from him. Nothing. And that's,
I wondered. That's a good point, John, because I was thinking that going into this game, that the number of our players that have found out they're not going to the World Cup in the last 4 or 5 days. And I thought, I wonder if that's getting to them. Palhinha found out yesterday he's not going. Richarlison found out yesterday he's not going. Mwani's not. So I did start thinking to myself, the timing of this is pretty poor, because I wonder if they're now thinking, the only thing I've got to do is a relegation battle. I've got nothing to look forward to. So I don't know if that's affected. I mean, that would be pretty weak mentality, wouldn't it? It'd definitely be the wrong thing.
But I think you're right. I think you're touching it as well. I think you're touching it. I think there's that mentality side of things. Pull me. You see that as a team. If we get a decision go against us as a team, we sulk for a good half hour during the game. Oh, the referee's got it in for us. The linesman done, whatever it is. We sulk. We don't just wipe our mouths and get on with it. We are so bad at that. So poor at that. And I think that probably does factor into thinking now they don't care. Not going to the World Cup, on holiday. I'm sorting out. I'm engineering a move away anyway in the summer. And I mean, take Van der Ven, for example. Van der Ven, I mean, I would sell him in the summer, regardless. We went through a phase of trying to be sent off if he wasn't sent off. We get De Zerbi in, and he's like, and we offered him a contract, and I'm an hour about it. De Zerbi comes in, the results pick up. Yeah, I'll consider signing a contract. What? Well, where's the effort been? Where's the attitude? You got the armband, you know. It permeates through the whole squad.
Yeah, like you're only going to stay because things are looking a bit better. You know, I'll jump ship. Yeah, I totally get that. Well, on 29 minutes, Fernandes hits the bar from a free kick. 37 minutes, Tell shoots over after 2 good runs, to be fair. I've written down here, Spurs seem off it since the Chelsea goal. Luke, did you think that? Do you think that something dropped? Something changed, didn't it, after that Chelsea goal?
The first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because I think they must have an awareness within themselves that they have very little creative outlet in the game as well. They'd sort of started well and created a couple of chances, but we talked about this attitude. It's not just when a decision goes against them, it's when a goal goes in. I did see a few of them saying, come on, keep your heads up, don't let it drop. But I do think part of the reason we're in this mess is because generally when things go wrong as a team, they're not very mentally strong. And that is about, I would equate this to, people could say I'm talking nonsense, but I'd equate this to, there's a chart done by The Athletic recently on players that teams have bought in recent times. And Spurs have bought the lowest number of players at prime age over the last 10, 15 years. Bought a lot of younger players and then maybe some a bit older. And we bought almost no one who's right in the prime of their career. And sometimes you see that on the pitch where there's no one there going, it's just a goal, it's just a bad decision. Bounce back, come on, get up, let's keep going. Instead, you see heads drop because of inexperience, or heads drop because they're thinking, I've had better in my career than this. Or I'm at the end of my career, I don't really care. So unfortunately, we've had, I think, a recruitment issue for a long time that has then impacted our mentality on the pitch. And you did see it today. I mean, Van der Ven he completely lost it towards the end of the game, but you could see it building up after that first goal. But the second goal, you see his face when that went in. He was fuming, but he was fuming at his own players, which, we were all annoyed by it, but he's the captain. He's the one that's got to bring them up. So, yeah, the first goal, I think a bit of that started to creep in. Van der Ven's not there, turning around saying, come on, doesn't matter, keep fighting, it doesn't matter. This Chelsea team are not at it today. You can clearly see they're not, levels and levels above us. We can get back into this. But that just didn't really happen. And the press dropped off. And I think by the goal was the 18th minute. So he still had ages to go to half time. And I don't think we had another shot after that. So we trailed off massively. And at half time, you think maybe, okay, go in and reset. But unfortunately, they didn't really come out a lot better, did they?
No, absolutely.
Luke, just real quick. Luke and John, both of you have mentioned this lack of spine, this tendency to drop heads and stuff. I feel like panels over the years, it's not just with this squad. It goes back years and years, like with different players, different coaches, different sporting directors. Why is it so endemic amongst this club? It doesn't seem to matter who's there. Even when Kane and Son were here, there were times where we would talk about this soft white underbelly of this team, and that the team would fall apart when the pressure really got to them. And we saw that happen today as well. I don't understand how you can completely turn over a team, completely turn over a coaching staff, have a different management structure in place, and still have the same issue year over year over year over year. I feel like we've talked about this for years on this channel.
Yeah, I mean that stat about the players that we've bought was over 10 years. So that would suggest that is a failure that's been happening for such a long time, that this squad has just been completely devoid of players in their prime with the right level of experience, but also their own ability to affect the game. Right. If you've got a very experienced player who can't his legs have gone and can't affect the game that much. They're far less effective. You need someone who can both lead by example in terms of their attitude, but also by what they're doing on the pitch. You see someone win a tackle. Now, we did actually at the start of this season bring in more players that have got that kind of experience than we've had in years. So like Paulinho would fit that mold, for example. Premier League experience, has played a few seasons in the Premier League, is at the right kind of age, good experience level, international player, that kind of thing. And you do see him, but sometimes he's passionate and he gets hold of the game, but he has his flaws as well. And I think his flaws, again, are within the general squad building. We've got too many of him, haven't we? We've got too many similar players now. So, yeah, it's over like 10, 15 years that the culture's been poor, the attitude's been poor. Thomas Frank said that he was going to come in and rebuild the culture, and somewhere along the line got it completely wrong, didn't he? And thought he had more time than he did. But leaders in the past, those that have led by example, like Kane, obviously he led by example in his actions. But from what I've read about him, he wasn't particularly inspiring as a leader in terms of speaking to players in the dressing room. And Sonny was exactly the same, like brilliant on the pitch. And everybody loved him as well, but not really very good at motivating people and getting hold of them. You had a manager like Ange who was very, very good at that. He had the players running through brick walls for him. And I feel like De Zerbi's got a bit of that too. But once those managers let those players get out on the pitch, they can't do anything about it anymore. They've got to have someone in the centre of the pitch who's controlling it at some point. And I think I just don't think we've ever had that player. We've never had that kind of, the example is obviously, say, like a Roy Keane kind of player. We've just never had them, have we? We've never had them in our squad.
No, and well, I think I would argue that we had Højbjerg, which was he was a kind of leader like that. I think a lot of people have said over the last few months that it would have been good to have a Højbjerg type character in there. I think James Maddison to a certain degree. That's why he's kind of been on the bench as a cheerleader almost for the, perhaps 4 or 5 games ago. But God, I personally think if there's any chance Maddison can start Sunday, I think it would be great to start him personally and try and get a couple of goals up early and then just take him off after 60 minutes. I'm sure he'll want to play if he's fit enough. But look, we'll see. We'll come on to that. Well, Spurs failed to have a shot on target for the 9th time in the first half this season. And Chelsea have had won 9 of the last 10 versus Spurs when scoring first, and sadly that is another game to add to that list. 57 minutes, Richarlison heads wide, although it was offside. I mean, it was a horrendous header. He had a free header in the middle of the box, and it just went. When it fought 5, I think he was glad to see the flag go up, to be honest, because that was pretty shocking for a guy actually he's not bad with his head and fairly good in the air. And on 58 minutes, Richarlison has another header straight into the arms of the keeper. Terry, is Richarlison doing enough and done enough, do you think? Do you think that his moment is going to come against Everton on Sunday?
I mean, I certainly hope so. It's crazy how he keeps kind of nicking these late goals, because you'll see how he tries, you'll see how the ball bounces off him, you see the lack of quality. I mean, the fact that he's our number 9 right now speaks volumes for where we are as a team, because it's hard to say you have confidence that he's going to score, and then he'll pop up in kind of the most random places here. He's another one that, and I think most Spurs fans are in this boat, that I just don't see him as a long-term solution. If he were to leave the club, I don't think many of us would shed many tears over that. I mean, it is really primed for him against Everton, is it? I mean, you would think it'd be, or you would at least hope that it would be written in the stars. But you just don't know what that football script is going to be. I mean, when Maddison was through on goal near the end there, I thought that was the moment. I mean, we were all ready to explode. Just the thought of Maddison single-handedly going through and keeping us up. We were hoping that would be the moment. It's just such a concern that we're putting so much stock in hope and belief in Richie and Colomwani and Tell next week. I mean, when you think about the goals that we've scored over the past few weeks, it's like there has to be something perfect. It has to be either a perfect tail header cross or a perfect Poro cross, right where Richie can't mess it up. And we saw with that 59th minute that he can mess those up, even when they're right there. It has to be some kind of outside shot, like Tell shot or Gallagher shot or something crazy from Palhinha. We just don't have. You can't say for certain that you know where a goal is going to come from, and you know we're going to need at least one next week. So it's just a lot of pressure going into those into that front three and that midfield. I think that's an interesting point that you make, Craig, about possibly starting Maddison. I mean, I'm sure he would want to as well. Like the human side of me just makes me just cringe just thinking about his knee and kind of the impact that would have on his knee. And the last thing I would want for him is to get hurt again. And it's just been so long. You can see how much he wants to be out there. But it feels like Sunday is one of those days where we just have to throw everything at it, put everyone behind it just to stay up here. So.
And it could be worse. Of course, he could be a Southampton fan tonight. So, he's perhaps not as bad as being a Southampton fan at the moment, although perhaps it is. I don't know. 68 minutes coming around to you, John. 68 minutes, another goal for Chelsea, another goal for Fernandes after a terrible Colomwani pass, which we've touched on, straight to a Chelsea player. Chelsea break and score. Talk us through this one.
Yeah, again, we're another loose ball when we're attacking, but again, it goes down to those combinations. We receive the ball, don't know where to go to. We've either got two players on top of us or no one anywhere near us at all. Yeah, ball into the box, knock back across, and Santos just pops it in. Not tight enough again. Standard Tottenham goal we give away at Stamford Bridge.
And it's amazing when you're looking at these pictures, the amount of Tottenham defenders back, yet just not picking. There's 2-3 at the back post. Poro's obviously caught up pitch there, and the defending again. Fernandes. There's just nobody within 2 or 3 yards of him. Van der Ven's trying to get back. It's just not good enough.
No.
I don't know what else we can say on it. It's just, it was the worst time to concede a goal, wasn't it? I mean, Luke, come in on this. What did you make of this goal?
It's exactly the same as the first one. I just don't understand what's going on in terms of positioning and just talking to each other, having your head on a swivel. The basic stuff you're taught as a kid. Poro and Danso are standing just before that in the previous clip. They're standing next to each other. So the forward probably can't believe. Look at that there now. There's three of them there moving in, 3 Chelsea players, and they probably can't believe their luck. They're like, "This is what it's always like playing Spurs. You normally get this much space." So once the ball's into the box and I think it's the headers one, and then Enzo gets it. You think, well, that's it. But he shouldn't really be able to get that pass off either. He's got 2 players to get it through. And somehow he manages to get it through. And Van der Ven, who does still get there in time, somehow manages to miss the ball as he's sliding in. It was just a calamity of errors from everyone involved, because I think at this point, the team was struggling so much to produce anything. And like we said, the subs really should have been made earlier. That I think they just lost their heads and the basics go out the window. As John said, I've seen that goal scored against Chelsea so many times. But actually, I think we've conceded that goal quite a few times this season, which is why we're in the mess we're in. Ball goes into the box, everybody's in the wrong position, and the only people thinking about their positioning are the forwards. And they're in the right place, and they probably can't believe their luck, to be honest. It's the easiest goal that lad's going to score all season.
So because you make those decisions, like we were talking about the yellow cards earlier, those stupid fouls we give away, Poro or Van der Ven or something. When a turnover like that happens and you need to take the tactical yellow card, we can't do it because we'll get sent off. And we're so vulnerable on that turnover. You see it all the time. You see it at home. We're so vulnerable. It's so easy. As soon as they got as soon as the opposition have an out ball, we are right under pressure straight away. But it's never roles reversed, is it? Never the other way around. When we attack, teams are back in shape quick. We're not.
The other thing is that goal is the spit of the Brighton's first goal the other week as well, where it went out to that almost that exact same position. Nobody put the player under pressure. He whips it to the back post. Porro has no idea if anyone's behind him. Goal. And it's exactly how Brighton scored. So we talked about long-range shots. People must know that's a weakness. They definitely know that an in-swinging cross from the right to the back post over Porro's head is also a weakness, and Chelsea took advantage of that too. So there you go.
Yeah. Luke, you talked about how easy of a goal that was. That was Andre Santos's first goal for Chelsea. So
they'll never score an easier one.
Always a way. Yeah, it's always a way. Yeah. Sorry, I said Fernandez. Yeah, it's Santos, of course. Regardless, we're 2-0 down at that point. Where are we? Kolo Muani. Well, Kolo Muani actually went off a little bit later, but I'm just trying to get I've scribbled a load down because the load happened quite quickly. Yeah, it was 69 minutes, so almost straight after the goal. Maddison, Sarr and Spence replaced Paulinho, Udogie and Kolo Muani. Terry, are you of the same mind talking about the subs? Do you think it was a little bit late?
Yeah, it's and that seems to have happened a couple of times this season, not just under Zerbi, but many times under Frank as well. But they were ready, and either they were just didn't come on, or the coach was talking to them, and then something happens in the game where there's some mental lapse, and then they come on, and it just seems like it's just too late. You really have to wonder if they were able to. It's kind of a sliding doors moment, I guess, right? But if Kolo Muani hadn't been on the field, would that whole sequence have happened? And who knows? But at least they got on. They did come on and change the game a bit. Again, Maddison, I don't think was, clearly he's not at full match fitness, but I think he saw what he can bring, and even that guile that he brings to the game. That's just a little bit different. Just the little bit of creativity that we just don't have anywhere else on the field. So it was great to see him on. What
I don't get with the subs, and it goes back to the Frank era, is the substitutes on the bench, they're watching the game. They can see their position, when they're going to come on, where they're likely to play. Why does Thomas Frank have the iPad out to show people what they're doing? Therefore, the 2-3 minutes he's explaining, like De Zerbi was explaining instructions today, they're taking their eye off what they need to do. Why? It's all there. It's all there for you. Information overload. You don't need to always see it, and just do it. Why players are ready to come on? Just bring them on. Why? Why is there that big? Oh, I'll just wait. Just wait for what? It's very rare that you're going to make a sub. Kolo Muani is going to score, so we're going to keep him on, right? It's unlikely to happen. So just do it.
Yeah, and the ironic thing is that if he'd done it a little bit earlier, Kolo Muani wouldn't have been on the pitch to make that pass. Yeah, and I know it's all ifs, buts, and maybes, but it is what it is. 74 minutes. Staying with you, Terry, actually, for this one. Richarlison gives us a little bit of hope, and he scores for Spurs after a Sarr back heel. Gave us a little bit of a lifeline, didn't it, Terry?
I mean, a lot of a lifeline. It's honestly, for me, it felt like we would come back and at least tie the game up. But we were talking about the lack of quality in the end product. I'm 99% certain that Sarr was shooting, not passing, and it was more of a mishit in that back heel that just happened to go right into Richie's path there. But I'll take it. I mean, this was a nice capitalization off of a mistake from Chelsea, similar to how they capitalized off of us. So it was nice to see that forward movement. It was nice to see Richie in the right place. Looking at that back pass, there's a reverse angle from behind the goal where it was clearly he was trying to score, but thank goodness for the miss hit. But there was, at this point, that was the 74th minute, so we still had about 20 minutes of play left, and I know you go through the incidents, but we had plenty of chances to score. I mean, to tie the game up after this one went in.
Yeah, absolutely, we did, and it's when James Maddison came on the pitch things started to happen. 84th minute, Maddison had a shot saved. I mean, that was such a good run, and I honestly thought that was going to be it.
Yeah.
And the 85th minute, absolute chaos at a Spurs corner. Van der Ven was fouled, but the ball was deemed not in play. And I have actually got a picture now to show you and put on screen. Sorry, it's not the best, but obviously you can clearly see the ball in play there and the wrestling going on. So it was still going on. It started before the ball was in play, but the wrestling was still. And Van der Ven's not even on the floor then. So, John, what do you make of that picture?
Expect another apology from PGMOL, do we, tomorrow morning? Oh,
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Is that what it is? I mean, yeah, it's a, it's a penalty, isn't it?
It should be.
Yeah,
I mean,
by the letter of the law, it's a penalty. And then you booked him. You booked their Cucurella. So
exactly.
there's no answer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's pretty cut and dry for me.
Yeah, I can't.
There's certain things that the VAR can't go back on, right? But I've not heard of anyone say that if the referee deems it a foul, but he thought the ball wasn't in play, that the VAR can go back and say, no, sorry, it was actually in play. But I've not heard of that. So, there's things like, for example, if it's a yellow card, the VAR can't go, even if that's going to lead to a red card, the VAR can't send the referee back to have a look at it, because you can't do VAR for red cards until yellow cards until next season. Is that a thing? I've not heard that you can, if the referee thought the ball wasn't in play, but it was.
There'll be a rule change tomorrow.
Because the VAR can tell the referee whether or not in the lead up to a goal, if the ball went off the pitch, can't they? They can say that. So that's about the ball being in play. So I would say that it's within their remit to check that.
It is because VAR said the ball wasn't in play when the foul was committed, and it clearly is in play. So I personally think they've got that wrong. And I know I've got Spurs goggles on, but you can see Van der Ven's not even on the floor yet, and the ball is clearly in play.
Now this is sickening.
And, and it's decisions like that could cost us our Premier League survival. Ultimately, it's not, because we've been crap all season. But that's what it's there for, VAR. We've seen it.
But this weekend, I don't know what's going on with them this weekend. They allowed Mbeumo to handball in the box against Forest. And
ridiculous.
They, Havertz last night got away with a clear studs-up challenge. And then, Souček handles the ball in the box at Newcastle and then kicks Guimaraes in the head and gets away with both of those. So I just don't know what they're doing. I actually think they might be trying to purposely implode so that VAR gets abolished, and then they can pretend they're sad about it, but actually they're more than happy for it to go, just like the rest of us.
Yeah, it could be. Who knows? But they seem to have got a hell of a lot wrong. That Mbeumo one, I can't see how that's not handball in on any day of the week. But there you go.
Apologise for that as well.
Yeah, it's just shocking. It's what you've got it from every single angle. And anyway, it's a discussion for another show probably. 94th minute, Maddison free kick, the one we discussed earlier, sadly goes over the bar. And then 97th minute, Tell wasted two crosses, but the last one, Sarr was just running through, and if he'd just pulled it back a little bit more, but passed it into the arms of the goalkeeper. And then sadly, the final whistle blew. Spurs lose the game. And so we are where we are. We're 2 points ahead of West Ham. We're still in the driving seat. It's still in our hands, thankfully. I'd rather be in our position than in West Ham's, 100%. But, we've got to do the business on Sunday at Everton. So let's spend a bit of time talking about that game. Everton up next at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. All games kick off 4:00 on Sunday UK time. John, just come to you on this. Do you have any faith at all that Spurs can get a minimum of a draw against Everton on Sunday? What needs to happen? Do you think the players have got the mentality?
Do I think that the players have got the mentality? No. But I think if I take the emotion out of it, our record against Everton is very, very good. We've probably got the best record over Everton over any other Premier League club, I think. Home and away across the board. They've won once at our stadium. That was in COVID, wasn't it? Calvert-Lewin scored. I would, if we were looking at teams to play, if you're giving me this scenario, last day of the season, you've got a home game, Everton would be one of my top teams to play at home. I don't think they're that particularly good. We're panicking a little bit because it's like one game, that's it, it's win or bust, basically. But let's just be a bit realistic on it. West Ham, after their game against Newcastle, they looked broken. I mean, broken. We haven't been as bad as that. I mean, afterwards, Nuno looked down. It was the fans had turned, looked broken. Yes, they might have got a little bit of a lift tonight, but look, it's going to be tough for them against the Leeds. Play like they played against us. The last 2 home games, I know our record at home has been bad, but Brighton was a good performance against a good side. Leeds, we should have won. We should have beaten Leeds, apart from the mistake we made. I mean, Kinski's made a save at the end. I get it, and Roden, but we had chances. Our home performances have got better. I just hope there's not that big fanfare beforehand that just adds to the anxiety of everybody else. They all know what we need to do. They all know what we have to do. We all know what we have to do, and we have to focus solely on doing that. So we'll go at them, and I think we'll beat Everton on the weekend. But there's no lap of honour at the end of the game. I'm telling you, there should be a mass clear out of players and everything. But I think we will beat Everton. I think it'll be a horrible afternoon for us all. But I think we will. Do I trust the players? I have to, but I don't, because I don't think they can get a result. But I think that they. I don't think they can get a result. I think they can get a result against Everton. Maybe we start Maddison like you suggested, and even, just to get us going, get a bit fired up. Is Solanke back for Sunday, or is he done?
Possibly. I don't think so.
But you may look at him through the middle with Richarlison out wide and Tell on the other side, and there's your Kolo Muani conundrum sorted, and Spence in for Udogie, and let's go. But let's have it right. Everton are no great shakes. They're not an amazing team. They're hard working. If we go toe to toe, play like we played against Villa, Brighton, potentially Leeds, we will beat them.
I'll take that. Now, Luke, what's your feelings on the game?
Yeah, I was just looking at the league table again. So they're in 12th, and 9th is going to be the last European spot if Aston Villa win the Europa League tomorrow. So they are 3 points off 9th and 5 goals worse off. So with 2 other teams above them able to get in there and 1 below them. So I don't think they're necessarily be going into that game thinking, yeah, we can really get back into Europe. I think they might feel that their chance is gone. So that might change their mentality, but they're all professionals and they shouldn't ever really be, looking at losing a game. They have a much worse record in their last 5 or 6 games than us. They've been on a bit of a decline. And if you were like me and spent a bit too much time watching their game against Sunderland the other day, you would see that they really, really capitulated there. So they seem to be on a bit of a downward turn. But it does mean that Spurs have to turn up. Spurs have just got to do their bit. They can't worry about the form that the opposition have been on, because we played a team tonight with the worst form in the league, worse than us, worse than Burnley, worse than Wolves. And they beat us. So there's the history there and the stuff like that, and the issues that happen. But it's got to be a pretty flawless performance, I think, because Everton are no mugs and neither's Moyes. So who knows how they're going to play? Whether they're going to come at us and think, well, we've got our chance. If we win handsomely, we could get into Europe. But I can't imagine they're not going to lay down or make it easy for us. But if I could just say one thing to anyone listening now who's going to be at the stadium on Sunday like I will, do not let the dull moments or the things that go wrong. We talked about the mentality of the players. We as the fans, just like the away fans did today, because I could hear them on the telly the whole time, just got to keep it up. Because I found against Leeds the other day, when something went wrong, the stadium went very quiet and it started to make me feel a bit nervous, and that will translate to the players. So we've just got to keep it noisy. We've just got to keep going, and we've got to do our bit in the stands to keep them motivated, because it does work. It does affect them. And when they hear that sort of silence, they do start to get affected by it. So I feel confident. I think we can do it. I think it will take a bit of a disaster for it to go the other way, because I also think Leeds will play well against West Ham. Leeds are a good side, and West Ham will find them difficult. I don't think that will be a stroll in the park for them. So if I was to predict, I think that we get what we need from Everton, even if it's ugly, and even if it's a draw. I think we will get what we need on Sunday.
Well, that's 2 out of 3. Terry, can we get the job done Sunday?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I go into Sunday trying to think positively about how fortunate we are just to be in this position. I think just a couple of months ago, right before De Zerbi arrived, I think most of us were 99, 100% convinced that we were going down. So just the fact that we're in this position and we control our own destiny, I view that as a positive. Another positive with what Luke said about just not having any realistic permutations for Everton getting into Europe. So they will have a little bit less to play for. I have been watching some of Everton games as well. Like, they don't have a deep squad. So honestly, Luke, to me, they look tired. It's been a long season for them, and so it's I mean, sometimes we look tired too, because we have a small squad as well at the moment with so many people out. My fear, and Craig, you mentioned this, before we started. If Everton score first, and just that angst that tends to permeate throughout the crowd and just really kind of seems to be injected into the players, it's whatever we can do to score first or prevent them from scoring first. I feel like that's really such a huge key to that game. That's my only worry going into this. I feel like there will generally be positive vibes and a feeling of hope from most Tottenham fans going into that, but it doesn't take a lot for that to turn. So that's my worry. But even if things were to turn there, like Luke said, Leeds is a good team. Like, we've seen them recently. We saw how they came back this past weekend, as well. I don't want to ping my hopes on Leeds by any means. I hope we go out there, and I'm pretty sure De Zerbi will set us up to win, not just to tie, not just to lose. I would like to see us really go after them, to whatever extent that we can, with that front three that we have, and in that lack of attack that we have. But it feels like it's set up for us to do that. I feel it would.
John, have we got to get that first goal? Do you think that's the most important thing on Sunday, to get ahead, and then that's going to filter through to West Ham? It's so important that we get that goal, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If we go goal down, God forbid, do we give ourselves a mountain to climb, because we haven't. When was the last time we came from behind to win a game? And I think if we can get that first goal, and it's 0-0 at West Ham, then that'll filter through. It'll give us a bit of a lift. But we need to capitalise on that, not just sit back and defend it, because we'll invariably make mistakes like we did against Leeds. We need to keep going, and be, game management plays a huge part. See it, if we're a goal up in the first half and there's 5 minutes to go till half time, see the half out. Just play percentages, just see the half out, get in at half time, winning, reset, come back out, then first 15 of the second half, same thing, don't concede. Let's see where we're at, and just break it down and just manage the game. I'm not interested in attacking flair and any of that. You just got to get over the line and do whatever you have to do. Slow it down, speed it up, whatever, but stay in control of that. But if we go a goal down, well, you got to come out fighting. It's as simple as that.
I agree with what someone said earlier about start Maddison and let him do the first part of the game, because I think that what happens if you bring him on because you need him to find something for you late on, he's in the frantic part of the game where challenges are flying in and people are a bit more stressed and it's more tense. Bring him on early and let him control and dictate the flow of the game. It'll take the pressure off. You'll have someone making the right kind of passing moves. The problem is when you don't have a player like that on the pitch, even the short passing from some of them today just wasn't landing, which is pathetic. But like a player like Maddison pulling the strings for the first half of the game will I think, calm everyone down. People will be excited to see him start the game, and he'll probably create a few chances and possibly even score early on, rather than have this guy who's still recovering from injury having to dart about the place and try and create something with just seconds left. It's just nonsense, really. I'd rather see us put that creativity on the pitch first and try and lock it up later on.
I think
what do you think? Are we staying up?
I'd like to think so. I think it's massively important. I don't think anybody should underestimate the fact we're 2 points ahead of West Ham. We actually only need to draw. So even if West Ham score a goal Sunday, and it's 0-0 in our game, we're still staying up. It doesn't matter if West Ham score 4. We're still staying up. But it's the fact if Everton score, and then I worry about what the stadium will be like if it is that situation. I really do. And it does worry me. But, nothing, I think I'm right, Terry, not much has gone our way this season. Nothing, in fact, really. We haven't had a penalty all season, Decisions today, the penalty decision that should have been, in a lot of people's opinion, it hasn't gone our way. And I know you make your own luck, but I just really do worry about the mentality issue on Sunday. And it's not just the players, it's what John said about the stadium and what Luke said about the stadium, that the fans are allowed at the beginning. Our fans are brilliant, but it's if something goes wrong and the stadium goes quiet, it does feed onto the pitch. We need every single fan screaming their lungs out all of Sunday. And I think there's an argument to say that Everton, they haven't performed brilliantly the last few weeks. Yes, they got that draw against Manchester City, but they haven't been fantastic. They're not a brilliant side. They're better than us this season, but they're not fantastic. And as I think, was it you said, John or Luke, that we've got the best record over Everton of all Premier League clubs? So the history's there. If you're looking at history, like, us against Chelsea, which is horrendous, then the history's there. And it's in their hands that the players they've got the opportunity to finally put it to bed. It's going to be settled Sunday one way or the other. But it just goes to show all those drop points all season and the last minute goals, the goal conceded against Brighton, the goal, the penalty given away the other week by Matisse Tell. Now, those individual errors have not cost us or could not cost us our Premier League status, because it's a culmination of every single game throughout the season, of course. But it's those things. When you look back at that Kevin Danso error in the last minute, we'd have been safe now. And it's just little things like that, isn't it? It's been a horrendous season. Any of you, can you remember in your history of being a Spurs fan a season like this one, a worse season?
No.
I remember one a while back that started very badly, but we pulled it out later on. I think I want to say it was 2003, Redknapp. Maybe before Redknapp even. I can't remember who it was. Maybe
didn't he, under Ramos 2 points away?
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So we've had a few seasons where we've started badly, but you're not worried about relegation around November time, are you? If you then start pulling it out at Christmas.
Well, and that's it. They took too long to get rid of Thomas Frank, in my opinion. Right, so you three think we're going to be staying up, which is great. Just ask you all the final question of the evening. Terry, start with you first. Who's to blame for this mess this season? Who's most culpable?
So we've talked about the different players, the different management, the different coaches. I guess we've talked about Levy for so long. I feel like it's the common underlying thread amongst all of this has been the Lewis family, right? It has to be the Lewis family. The decisions that they made, hiring Vinay and Johan Lange, the fact that Johan Lange is still here, that we're starting to plan for this summer with Johan Lange, is an absolute travesty to me. And it just tells you what type of leadership we have. Like that soft underbelly, the lack of nous amongst the players, which you've mentioned, Luke, just that loser mentality, that tendency to drop heads, that's got to come from the top, and that's been there for years and years, and that's been the only common thread throughout the years. It's the Lewis family. That's who I blame.
John?
Daniel Levy, primarily. Yes, I can understand that Levy, the Lewis family, but Daniel Levy appointed Vinay, he appointed Johan Lange, he appointed Thomas Frank. Whilst fans will say if Daniel Levy was still in charge, Thomas Frank would have gone in November. It was still there. The recruitment is bad. It culminates from Daniel Levy as well. the way that we're perceived in the transfer market by other clubs is embarrassing. As soon as clubs get relegated, we circle around them, picking up the carcass of players and all of that sort of stuff. So clubs don't want to deal with us. Maybe that factored into why we couldn't get anything in January a little bit. Clubs just went, nah. You saw at the Crystal Palace reaction over the Eze thing that we tried to do. Daniel Levy is still, in my mind, culpable for where we are, as is the Lewis family, who quite frankly seem so far removed and don't understand what's going on from it. And then that just filters down through the channels. And then the decision to bring Igor Tudor in was just mind-blowing.
Horrendous.
But then I look at it and I think, well, what happened with do we go for De Zerbi? He said no. With 14 games to go, we get Tudor in for 6 games or whatever it was. Didn't work, and then De Zerbi comes back. Is it because we just thrown a load of money at him? The whole thing is a car crash. It's an absolute shambles, an absolute mess. But the sad reality is, since we've moved to that stadium, our identity has shifted massively, and it's a stadium and a football club. It's not Tottenham Hotspur. It's and football club, and it's really, really sad.
So, is Luke, anything to add on that? Who do you blame?
Yeah, I agree with the guys. I think it's the people at the top, whoever that has been in the last 25, 26 years, whether it's Daniel Levy or the people behind him, Joe Lewis and his various family members that come out of the woodwork to do more damage to the club. I think that they're, I don't know if anyone ever sat down and said this openly, but clearly their strategy was not to try to run a successful football club first and foremost, but to run a successful business. And they were pretty good at that for a long time. But what they did, and their biggest mistake, I think, was they underestimated the things that they had when we were doing well. So they thought that, they underestimated how much Pochettino was getting an extra 25% out of the players he had. They underestimated how important Kane and Son were to the team every week, and how their immense abilities were digging us out every week in games where we would have otherwise lost and ended up further down the table. And I mean, you look at the fact that over a 15-year period, we only finished outside of the top 6 twice. Harry Kane leaves and we finish inside the bottom 4 potentially twice. It's not a coincidence, we overestimated how well we would do with those key figures leaving, and when they were at their peak, we didn't invest in the squad, the team and the people around them to continue to push on, and we just never have. And I have no sort of confidence for the future. I've said this to Chris a few times before. I will believe it when I see it. They've talked a big game about, we will invest in the club and we will do more going forward. But, and you can see that if we survive, that these players that would have survived with De Zerbi, and he's changed their mind about wanting to stay, and, some of them would like the style of play, and that there's these players out there who have played under him who might be interested in coming to Tottenham. It all sounds good, but these owners have let us down time and time again, and they let us down in January. And that's another reason why we're here. So my feeling is I just cannot logically, with an objective mind, have any hope that next season is going to be significantly better, because these guys, we've been on this. I mean, I think being in a relegation battle is beyond the worst I thought that we would face under Nick. I really did. I did not expect us to get this low. I thought we'd be getting a few, finishes just outside the top 10, not, almost getting relegated. But yeah, bad decision after bad decision after bad decision, and you just can't survive that many mistakes, I think.
Well, let's hope we've got one more game in us before then they can reassess everything in the summer and do what they want and get rid of people. I'm sure, like you say, Vinay, Johan, I think they've got to go. Well, look, we won't depress you anymore. That's it for the podcast tonight. Luke, thanks for coming back on another difficult evening. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm at hotspur.stats on both Instagram and X.
Lovely. Thanks for coming back, mate. John, where can people find you on social media?
Just on Twitter at John1008, but not really so active on that, but various forums and what have you. I'll pop up in, and I'll be back on here some point with a more upbeat
Let's hope so.
At the time.
Let's really hope so. I'm back Sunday, and I really hope I'm talking about Tottenham staying in the Premier League. Terry, thanks so much for coming back. Where can people find you?
No, I'm not active on social media, but but John and Luke, thank you for letting me for commiserating with me, and hopefully this ends in a good way. Craig, thank you for hosting. I think you did a great job as always.
Thank you.
Come on, you Spurs.
Absolutely, come on, you Spurs. Well, as I said, we'll be back on Sunday after the game, 4 p.m. kickoff at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham Hotspur versus Everton to decide our Premier League fate. Can the boys do it? Can Spurs stay in the Premier League, or will it be West Ham? All will be revealed on Sunday. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everyone. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Okay.
We'll be right back.